Yes, indeed. Incubus there on the radio. Hauraki Big Show this glorious Thursday afternoon. And what an absolutely special treat we have for you this afternoon. He is a comedy legend.
That's right.
And I don't say that lightly.
But loudly.
But I say it very loudly. I'm talking about the one, the only, the great Ben Elton. Ben, first and foremost, mate, welcome to Radio Hauraki. Welcome back to New Zealand. How's life?
Pleasure. Well, you know, life is good. I'm getting towards the end of a very, very long stand-up tour. I was played Adelaide just the night before last. Flew over here. I'm doing a big day of press, culminating in the glory, which is this interview.
Yes.
And then I'll be straight back to the lounge, and I shall get on the fizz and get on a plane back to Sydney, and I'll play Sydney tomorrow night because I'm not on social media, so the only way I can tell people I'm on tour is to come and chat to old media, which is us.
Yeah. Now, Ben, I've got to tell you a story, and it's a true story, and it involves you, and it involves this very city that we sit in right now. And it was many, many years ago. And I was emceeing a gig at the Classic Comedy and Bar. I don't know if you remember the Classic Comedy and Bar on Queen Street there.
Well, I'm vaguely. It's
yes.
I'm wondering where the story's going. I'll tell you if I remember it when I've heard what you've got to say.
True story, this. It was a Wednesday night. It was a rookies night. And you came along and sat in the audience. We had I think there was about 6 or 7 punters in the audience, 3 of whom were sitting in the front row just giving us shit all night, and you were there, which sort of added to the pressure. I died on my ass badly, knowing that this comedy legend, you, were in the audience, and to your eternal credit, you stayed and watched the gig, and furthermore, you came backstage afterwards and gave us all a little pep talk and told us what you liked about our comedy, mate, and I've never, ever forgotten it.
Well, in that case, I remember it well. And it was... I've never walked out of a show, you know, so I know what it's like to be on stage, and I'm hugely respectful. Look, I hate people who talk during gigs. Look, if you're not finding it funny, be respectful to the comic on the stage. I bet it was good. I mean, like, audiences are often wrong. I mean, sometimes they're drunk, sometimes they're just too lazy to follow something. They want a quick, easy, stupid laugh, whereas actually if they just focused a bit, they might get a slightly longer, much bigger laugh if they listen.
Yes.
You know, I imagine, I do remember going and seeking out a bit of sitting in a couple of clubs. Yeah, it's always fun to go back and say hello if you can, because in those days I was very famous, and you always knew people knew you were in.
Yes.
So you kind of... You know, you might as well acknowledge it, you know, and go and say hello. So I'm glad you remember that. I'm very touched, and I'll bet you, if you died, it will have been because it was an empty gig with the blokes at the front taking a piss.
It was one of those classic sort of stand-up sort of gigs where you do the hard yards, Ben. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, we've all been there.
There were tumbleweeds rolling through.
Strong
here we
whiff
go.
of embalming fluid. Yes, I know that feeling. Well, you know, it was. It's hard. School of Hard Knocks is what makes us what we are.
Indeed.
Which is wonderful, splendid radio professionals
well,
to this day.
We've segued into that.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've had a long and storied career for many, many decades. I hate to point it out to you. You probably hate it. You probably hate, well, not hate, but people banging on to a degree, and especially when you come over and you speak to people for the first time about the Blackadder's and the Young One years. For me, when I was growing up, and I think for all of New Zealand, we're so heavily influenced by British comedy, especially of that time, hugely.
NZ media, just like Oz media, doesn't like pick up British stuff the way it used to, because obviously those ties, which were once very strong, and are fading as inevitably as all the countries change and changing their demographics. And so my more recent work, which has been seen in Britain, doesn't go straight onto Oz and NZ telly anymore. Yeah. But look, mate, I'm telling you the truth. I'm thrilled to acknowledge that work. You don't get as lucky as I got and then take it for granted. I mean, I was involved in some truly great comedy with some truly great people. I put my bit in, but I was working with the best, writing jokes for Rick Mail, it's not much jokes, writing comedy dialogue for Rick Mail, for Ryan Atkinson, for Jennifer and Dawn. It was a wonderful time. And I love the fact that it seeped into the culture, that language, because language is what I'm about. I'm a wordsman, I'm a writer. and the fact that you still hear echoes of Young Ones language.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
you girly swat, farty, you're a virgin or whatever, and also Blackadder. You're as small as a very small thing that's got a degree in being small. It's like it's still there, and I can't. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to feel that. And every time anyone says thanks for the Blackadder or the Young Ones, I feel great, and I'm humbled.
That's nigh on 40 years. I mean, the ritual that I had was we'd watch it on a Wednesday night. I think it was on at 9:30 or 10 o'clock. Come in the next day, and the rest of the class would have to work while the teacher and I broke down every single scene from Blackadder the night before. And it's been such a huge influence, and for all of us in this room, and to the point where last year we rewatched all of Blackadder from season 1 all the way through.
Well,
and it still is some of the funniest television ever created. So for you to be over in England making that stuff and to have it influence the other side of the world and still to be influencing what our output is now, it must be.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't dwell on it when I do.
No.
I don't think about it, and I don't watch the stuff that. I mean, I don't know anybody who does really. I don't imagine. I presume musicians don't go back listening to their songs. I certainly haven't watched a whole episode of the Blackadder since we finished
You've got
making
to check
it.
it out. It's great.
You should check
It's
it out,
very
Ben.
good,
It's
Ben.
bloody funny, mate.
I certainly haven't watched any Young Ones because that doesn't. You see the odd bit and you think, look, I know what we were doing. It was fun at the time, but it actually hasn't lived. It was of its time, and Young Ones was much more about being young in the early 80s. Adder is more universal. I think we would write pretty much the same sort of show now as we did then. Yeah. Whereas if I couldn't do anything like the Young Ones anymore because I'm not young. I don't have that connection with being young. And we were really looking at young people in the 80s, all the pretensions and the fashions, and it was a wonderful, fun thing to do. And we had a lot of fun doing it. Well, it was hard work, but I don't think it stands up in the same way. I mean, I haven't watched a whole episode, but I mean, I thought half of it was shit the first time around. I mean, if I do watch a bit of it, all I'm thinking is, oh God, that's still as crap as it was when we first did it. Because obviously I'm critical of it. It wasn't all perfect by any means. Even the Adder's got lots of dull bits in, and none of them are my fault. That was all the actors messing with me and my Richard's brilliant scripts, thinking they were improving it when they weren't. But anyway, let's not get onto that.
No, I tell you what we're going to do, Ben. We'll go to a tune and we're going to get back and talk about your modern stuff, the stuff you're doing at the moment.
Absolutely.
Queen there on the radio. Hauraki, our big show this Thursday afternoon. We have comedy legend Ben Elton in the studio with us. Ben, we were reflecting on, in that last break, of course, your shows, Blackadder, The Young Ones, etc., etc. It's a vastly different world we live in now. So where is Ben Elton now in this crazy, mad, insane world that we're inhabiting?
Well, it was pretty crazy and mad. Back my generation grew up under the shadow of the bomb. It seems the bomb's back. But it went away for a while. I think crazy's always been in fashion, which is why comedy's always useful. I mean, I'm unpacking, as young people say. I'm unpacking the commonality of human absurdity. I mean, I think that's what good comedy should do, looking into the sort of ridiculousness of who and what we are. We don't know who we are. We can't look after our planet. So I'm still doing what I've always done. I'm leaning, that's another word young people use, I'm leaning more into stand-up. I took a long time off stand-up, bringing up kids, got more into novels, did musicals. You just played a bit of Queen. I mean, God, how lucky have I been to actually work with Queen?
I know, I wanted to ask about that.
Well,
Jess.
okay.
Well, hang on.
We don't hear from the mute in the corner. What's going on?
Well, so we've got Ben Elton, comedy legend, and the reason why I specifically asked for a Queen song to be there is because I think 2 decades ago you produced We Will Rock You, which ran on Broadway and all around the world, a Queen musical, which you then starred in later on as well, on stage.
Yeah, I played it. I was such a tart. I played the sort of old hippie guru. I cast myself. It was a tough audition. I looked in the mirror, I said, you're great. And look, We Will Rock You is something that's been a massive part of my life. Brian and Roger and I.
Well, that's the thing. You worked with Brian May and Roger Taylor.
Continually. I got an email from Brian May this morning.
That's amazing.
We're in constant touch. We became very close friends. And, it's my story and my book and their music. But they worked with me. I directed, but they were hands-on the whole time. yeah, it's a really wonderful friendship. And of course, as a fanboy, which I sure am, I mean, God,
Yeah.
anyone who says, I don't like Queen is like saying you don't like the Beatles. That's just a pose. You might not like one track or another, but I mean, their work is so eclectic and so broad. There's got to be something you like in there, otherwise you're lying. I'm a fan. I left home when I was 16, and I was a lonely boy trying to study drama, living in a caravan on my own. And Queen were at #1 with Bohemian Rhapsody for the whole first term I was away. I mean, they're part of my fan DNA. And then one day I got a call from their manager saying, look, we're thinking of doing a sort of story using their music. Do you want to try and come up with something? And oh my God, did I? And it's been a huge part of my life. Still going on. I'm going to be directing a big new production in Stuttgart in October. So I shall be doing that.
You're directing big productions, writing scripts for musicals for Queen. You've written how many novels now?
16, count them. 8 #1s.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can I ask you in that? Because you're obviously a thoughtful fellow.
Yeah.
What does Ben Elton prefer? Do you prefer the gentle tap of writing a novel and being in your own quiet space, or the thrill of standing up in front of a live audience doing stand-up comedy?
What I most like of all is the gentle glug glug of a pop followed by glug glug of the pouring of a nice glass of cheeky red or a lovely cold sparkling. But look, stand-up at the moment is what I'm about. I've been on the road now for almost 6 months. I've done 130. I've done about 120. I've got up 30 or so to go. It's a big tour.
My God.
A lot of material. I worked for months to produce it. Stand-up is kind of the most vibrant thing I do. I mean, obviously, you're in front of 1,000 people. That's pretty exhilarating.
Immediate.
And it certainly keeps you on your game. But it's also it's the only fully subjective part of what I do. I mean, when I'm writing a script or a novel or whatever, I'm in the heads of various characters. But when I'm on stage, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing what young people say. I'm standing in my truth. Stand in your truth and share what you know, which is actually a new word for, in my opinion. People's opinions are now their truth.
Yes.
So you can't argue with it. But anyway, I love it all. It's all about writing a comedy. But stand-up, I'm not trying to just say I'm on the road. Stand-up is what I'm doing at the moment because it's the sharp end, and it means it's an exhilarating way to earn a living, I've got to say.
It is. If you'd like to see Ben Elton with authentic stupidity, starting in Hamilton, April 19th, you're doing Rotorua as well, Tauranga, Wellington, Auckland, Napier, Dunedin, Christchurch.
Jeez.
Even that, I would be knackered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exhausting.
I did 105 in Britain now. That's 6 shows a week, and I do 200, do 2.5 hours each night. All new material. Yeah. It's just me. Never had a support. I work without a support. I have tight underpants, but no support.
Well, you should get you should get Jason to MC.
I can show you what I got there.
He could throw down a strong 20. I don't know. I need all the time to myself. Look, coming back to New Zealand, the first interview I ever did in New Zealand, it's changed a lot. The cultural cringe was so big there. I did an interview to publicise my novel Stark. It's in 1989, and the first time I'd ever been to New Zealand. First interview I did. The interviewer said, "Geez, mate, your career must be crap if you come to talk to us." And I thought, wow, that is, I'd have been very dry. Or frankly, you need to big yourself up a bit, mate.
Sure.
Anyway,
But English people don't like that. English people never big themselves up. That's the opposite.
Well, actually, plenty of them do. They just do it subtly.
Right.
I always have this out with Stephen. Stephen's so much better at being English than I am.
Who's Stephen?
Stephen Fry.
Oh, of course.
We're both kind of not. We're both children of refugees, both half Jewish. We're very similar. But he looks like a Patricia. He should be in Brideshead Revisited, you know what I mean? Because he's very good at being English. And so, when he got a novel out, he'll do the English. Oh, it's awful. Don't buy it. I'm embarrassed. And everybody loves him. And I've got a novel out. I say, it's brilliant. It's the best thing I've ever done. And everyone thinks, what a wanker. So I've got to learn to be more English. But at 65, I don't think I'll manage it.
Yeah. Good on you, Ben. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio. Enjoy your tour across New Zealand. Are you sold out? I'm picking you probably already have.
No, I'm not already sold out. Why do you think I'll be talking to you?
Well, you will be after this.
I love to come and talk to you. But no, there are some tickets still available. But listen, we've extended the tour.
Yes.
I mean, I've added a lot of dates because if people want to see me, I will come and play for them. So
beautiful.
Yeah. Come and get a ticket and come and have a great night of stand-up comedy.
livenation.co.nz, Ben Elton, authentic stupidity. It's going to be hitting the whole of New Zealand really April through May as well. Ben, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for that very professional outro. I love you. Not sure about the other two. I'm kidding. That was fun. You guys
Excellent.